Eleanor Gray stood in her gallery, her heart swelling with pride as she admired the paintings that adorned the walls. Each piece told a story, not just of the dreamers who had commissioned them, but of her own journey back to joy and self-discovery. The gallery had become her sanctuary, a place where she felt alive once more. It was a quiet afternoon when a man walked in, catching Eleanor's attention immediately. He was tall, with silver-streaked hair and kind eyes that seemed to carry stories of their own. He moved slowly through the gallery, pausing in front of various paintings, but his gaze kept drifting toward Eleanor. Eleanor noticed his glances but remained at a respectful distance. There was something familiar about him, though she couldn't quite place it. As if drawn by an invisible thread, they both found themselves standing in front of the same painting. A lush garden scene with vibrant flowers and a solitary figure standing at the center. Eleanor broke the silence. "That one's always been a favorite of mine." The man turned to her, his voice nervous but warm. "It's exquisite." They stood in silence for a moment before he spoke again. I bought a painting from the dream painter months ago." His words were hesitant, as though each one had to be carefully considered before leaving his lips. "Gabriel told me that you were a contributor to it." Eleanor's eyes widened. "Really?" He nodded. "Yes. I've wanted to meet you ever since. The painting, it spoke to me in a way I can't quite explain. I just wanted to thank you." Eleanor's heart fluttered. "I'm flattered. Truly. It means so much to hear that." For the first time in years, she felt shy, unsure of what to say next. Their eyes met, and in that moment, something unspoken passed between them. A spark of recognition, a pull toward something neither of them had expected. "I'm Thomas," he finally said, extending his hand. "Eleanor." She took his hand, her touch lingering a moment longer than necessary. "Thank you again," Thomas said, his voice soft. He hesitated, as though he wanted to say more, but instead offered a gentle smile and turned to leave. Eleanor watched him go, her chest tight with both excitement and regret. As the door closed behind him, she shook her head and took a deep breath, as if blowing out the butterflies that had taken flight within her. Outside, Thomas stood on the sidewalk, his heart racing. He glanced back at the gallery window, nearly sick with longing. He hadn't felt this way in years, not since he was a young man. "You're too old for butterflies," he told himself. "Too old for sparks." But the feeling wouldn't leave him. Inside, Eleanor busied herself with rearranging paintings, her mind replaying every word of their brief conversation. Her cheeks were still flushed, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something important had just happened. Thomas paced outside the gallery, debating with himself. Finally, he took a deep breath and marched back inside. Eleanor was speaking with another client, but when she saw him, her eyes lit up. Thomas cleared his throat. "Sorry to interrupt, but would you like to meet me for coffee and maybe a piece of pie after you close your gallery?" Eleanor's mouth opened in surprise. She hadn't expected him to come back, let alone ask her out. Blushing, she nodded. "Yes. I'd like that very much." Thomas smiled, the tension in his shoulders easing. "Good. I'll see you then." As he left, Eleanor placed a hand over her heart, feeling the butterflies once more. Perhaps it wasn't too late for sparks after all. Alternate ending. Thomas stood outside the gallery, watching Eleanor through the window, his heart aching with longing. He couldn't bring himself to go back inside. Instead, he went home and stared at the painting he had bought from the dream painter. The solitary figure in the lush garden seemed to hold a piece of Eleanor's spirit. He found the perfect spot for the painting in his living room, where it would catch the morning light. And every time he looked at it, he felt like a young man again. Hopeful, full of possibility, and quietly longing for a second chance. Self-evaluation questionnaire. Do you tend to doubt yourself when it comes to pursuing meaningful connections? How do you interpret sparks or butterflies in your interactions with others? Are they signs of something deeper? Have you ever regretted not taking a chance to connect with someone? How did it shape your future decisions? What would you do if you were in Thomas or Eleanor's shoes? Take a moment to reflect. Are you ready to embrace the possibility of connection, no matter your age or stage in life? Contact RuthJoAvery Grow and Thrive Coaching for guidance in making new connections and creating the lifestyle you desire after retirement.